What do an ancient flamethrower, a fashionable color, and a common cough syrup have in common? They all turned out to be deadly inventions, and not in the ways you'd expect. Throughout history, some of the most unassuming creations have caused horrific destruction or loss of life. In this video, we'll explore 5 such inventions that proved surprisingly deadly. From an ancient secret weapon that saved an empire to a modern chemical that quietly poisoned millions, each story will make you rethink how invention can backfire. Stick around for number 5, which might change how you see everyday technology. In 672 AD, the Byzantine Empire unveiled a secret weapon that seemed straight out of myth Greek fire. Imagine enemy ships closing in on Constantinople, only to be met with jets of liquid flame that burned even on water. Greek fire stuck to sails, wood, and flesh, engulfing targets in an inextinguishable blaze. It was terrifying and effective, the ancient world's napalm. Greek fire's exact recipe remains a mystery. It was a state secret, but historians believe it was petroleum-based, mixed with sulfur, resin, and quicklime. Pumped through bronze siphons on Byzantine ships, it could be sprayed at enemies, who found that water only spread the fire further. Opponents were utterly horrified. This wasn't a weapon they were used to. The psychological impact was immense. Enemy sailors panicked at the sight of blazing liquid that struck fear into the hearts of enemies. Greek fire turned the tides of battles, famously helping Byzantium repel Arab sieges and saving Constantinople on multiple occasions. Why is Greek fire one of the deadliest inventions you'd never expect? Because it was invented in an era when such technology shouldn't have existed. Conceived by a refugee chemist named Callinicus, this medieval flamethrower incinerated countless ships and soldiers. It was deadly by design, yet shrouded in secrecy and legend. For centuries, enemies tried to replicate it or defend against it, often in vain. Greek fire reminds us that even in ancient times, innovation could produce massively lethal results. It wasn't a bomb or blade, but a chemical concoction so ahead of its time that it gave the Byzantine Empire a fearsome edge in warfare. In the end, Greek fire's recipe was lost, perhaps thankfully, but its deadly legacy burns on in history as a precursor to modern incendiary weapons. Next, we travel to the elegant parlors of Victorian Europe, where a brilliant emerald green pigment was all the rage. Little did they know, this trendy color was a silent killer. The pigment was called Scheele's green, invented in 1775 by chemist Carl Wilhelm Scheele. It gave wallpapers, dresses, and even toys a vibrant green hue, but its key ingredient was arsenic. Yes, the same arsenic known as a potent poison was infused into the very decor and fashion of the 19th century. People literally painted their walls with poison, all for the sake of style. At the time, few suspected the danger. Healthy adults didn't drop dead immediately from the wallpaper, so manufacturers brushed off the concerns. But gradually, disturbing stories emerged. Families fell mysteriously ill, suffering headaches, vomiting, even death with no clear cause. One doctor in London, for example, recorded a tragic case. He treated a family where all 4 children died of an unexplained sickness. Desperate to find the cause, he examined the home and noticed the children's bedroom had vivid green wallpaper. This fit an unsettling theory circulating among some physicians, that wallpaper could kill. It turned out that in damp rooms, the arsenic in the wallpaper could flake off, or foster molds that released toxic arsine gas. In effect, a beautifully decorated room could slowly poison its occupants to death. The culprit, Scheele's green, was also used in fabrics. Fashionable Victorian women wore green dresses dyed with arsenic, some developed sores and rashes, and a few reportedly collapsed. Arsenic-laced faux flowers adorning ball gowns could even sicken dance partners. Even Napoleon Bonaparte's death has been theorized to involve arsenic-green wallpaper in his exile home. Arsenic was found in his hair, likely from the moldy green decor of his bedroom. While not everyone who loved this color died, the chronic exposure took a toll on many. Scheele's green is a deadly invention precisely because it was never meant to kill, it was meant to beautify. Who would expect that a paint color could become a murderer? It highlights the dark side of the industrial age's chemical revolution, a toxic innovation hiding in plain sight. Public outcry eventually led to arsenic greens falling out of use by late 19th century, but not before this lethal color left its stain on history and a few gravestones. The next time you paint a room, remember the Victorian trend that taught us how deadly untested chemicals in everyday products can be. Some inventions turn deadly because someone weaponizes them in unimaginable ways. Perhaps no case is more chilling than Zyklon B, a chemical that began as a pesticide and ended up as a tool of genocide. In the early 1920s, German chemists developed Zyklon B as a fumigation agent, a cyanide-based gas for killing insects and rats in ships' warehouses, and even to delouse the clothes of soldiers. It was extremely good at its job. A can of Zyklon B contained pellets that, when exposed to air, released hydrogen cyanide gas, wiping out vermin efficiently. For nearly 2 decades it was just another industrial product, used to improve public health by controlling disease-carrying pests. But in the 1940s, during World War II, this invention took a horrific turn. The Nazi regime, searching for an efficient method to carry out the mass murder of Jews and others in concentration camps, chose Zyklon B as their weapon. They removed its warning odor and repurposed it for use in gas chambers. The same gas that cleared bugs out of buildings was now used to asphyxiate human beings by the thousands. At Auschwitz and other camps, over 1 million people were killed using Zyklon B pellets dropped into sealed rooms disguised as showers. Victims had no idea that a common pesticide was about to become their death sentence. The deadly impact of Zyklon B is painfully obvious. It was instrumental in one of history's greatest atrocities. But why is it an invention you would never expect to be so deadly? Because its creators never intended it for mass murder of humans. In fact, one of the key figures in its development, chemist Fritz Haber, was a Nobel laureate who had also invented synthetic fertilizers that saved millions from starvation. Haber's team pioneered cyanide pesticides in the 1920s, though Haber himself, a German Jew, fled Nazi Germany and died before seeing his work perverted. The tragic irony is that an invention meant to preserve grain and health became an agent of industrialized killing, including the murder of many from Haber's own community. Zyklon B stands as a gruesome reminder that technology's moral value lies in how we use it. A simple can of pesticide through a twisted path of history became one of the deadliest inventions ever. Its story urges us to consider how even mundane innovations might be abused, and it memorializes the victims whose lives were taken by something they could never have suspected or seen coming. How about a deadly invention that didn't kill with explosions or acute poisoning but rather slowly and silently harmed millions? Enter tetrethyl lead, the additive that made gasoline leaded. In the 1920s, car engines had a problem called knock, a pinging noise due to inefficient fuel burning. General Motors engineer Thomas Midgley Jr. found a solution in 1921, adding tetrethyl lead or TL to gasoline to boost engine performance. It was hailed as a breakthrough. Branded as ethyl, this lidded gasoline made cars run smoother and more powerful. Oil companies loved it because unlike ethanol, another anti-knock agent, they could patent and profit from TEL. There was just one catch: lead is a potent poison, and Midgley and his colleagues knew it. Our final deadly invention is a substance so notorious today that it's hard to believe it was once a household medicine. We're talking about heroin. Yes, the opioid drug. Shockingly, heroin began its life in 1898 as a marketed cough suppressant and pain reliever introduced by the pharmaceutical company Bayer. It was even trademarked as heroin, derived from the German word heroic, because in early trials patients felt great, even heroic, after taking it. Doctors touted heroin as a wonder drug that could relieve coughing fits from tuberculosis and bronchitis, and they believed it was a safer, non-addictive substitute for morphine. In fact, Bayer advertised heroin as safe and effective for adults and children alike. One ad showed a mother happily giving Bayer's heroin syrup to her sick child. It's hard to imagine today, but at the dawn of the 20th century, heroin was a celebrated medical invention. As we've seen, human innovation is a double-edged sword. The 5 inventions we explored came from different worlds: ancient warfare, Victorian chemistry, industrial science, pharmaceutical labs, yet all share a common thread: unintended, deadly consequences. Who would have thought that a secret formula of petroleum and lime would hold off armies, or that a pretty pigment could turn living rooms into death traps? That a pesticide could be twisted into a means of genocide, or that the gasoline fueling progress would covertly poison generations, or that a miracle medicine could spawn one of the worst drug plagues in history. Let's learn from these stories. The next time you hear about a groundbreaking new invention, Remember this video. Ask the questions. What are the risks? Who might be hurt? History's 5 deadliest unexpected inventions challenge us to ensure that the progress of tomorrow doesn't become the tragedy of tomorrow. Stay curious, stay thoughtful, and thank you for watching.